Welcome to the partnership path in real life. Ever felt the gap between theory and reality? We're here to bridge that. Dive into real stories, real challenges, and real successes from professionals just like you in the partner and channel management world. Each episode is a journey, a lesson from those who've walked the partnership path, faced the challenges, and reaped the rewards. Whether you're a seasoned partner manager or just starting your journey, this is where theory meets practice. Ready to see the real side of partnership? Let's get started.
Well, Edmundo, welcome to the Partnership Path in Real Life. Actually, I guess I should say welcome back to the Partnership Path in Real Life. We had you on an episode several weeks ago, and so it's great to have you back on the show, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say this time. But before we do that, in case some of the listeners didn't hear that episode, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do and how long you've been working with partners?
Yeah, no, and again, I appreciate the second time. So it's always good. We had a good time last time. Yeah, my name is Edmundo. So I've been working in Microsoft now for a little bit more than 2 years with partners, and actually 1 year as a customer success manager. I led a program to kind of support some of our partners get to market faster with us, right? So that kind of exposed me a little bit more um, to the industry, to the space, right? So yeah.
Great. Awesome. All right. Well, this companion episode is reacting to the episode that we did on tactical alignment, where Tony and I talked about, really trying to map kind of our business priorities to the partner's business priorities to figure out, where do we have some synergy, and how do we let that then lead the planning discussion over a kind of a fiscal year or an operating period. So let's just start with, how did that episode resonate when you listened to that one? You heard Tony and I talking. What kind of initial reactions did you have to that?
I gotta say, this is one of the to be in all transparency, this is one of the areas I've struggled the most. And I don't know if it's the case in the rest of the community, but I think we're all very quick to think strategy, to talk about what we're going to do, get connected, start getting all this information. But when it comes to actually getting stuff done, it can become very difficult when you have, like I said, multiple people that you have to please, perhaps competing objectives. Maybe you haven't set the foundation right from the beginning. So there's a lot of nuances when it comes to actually being tactical, right? And maybe some people might have an easier path with that one, but at least in my case, it's been one of those that I've really needed to lean into to improve, right?
Well, so so number one, I appreciate the vulnerability of actually, saying that. So tell me a little bit about how you leaned into it and what kind of stuff you do to get better at that tactical stuff.
Yeah, at least in my case, I mean, it took me, I think, a few years to kind of understand, also get the role, understand kind of how do I fit in our priorities, or like you said in the first episode, which is how do we translate that to the other organization. So that took a little bit also to get a bit a handle on. But nowadays, I think when I've been picking up new partners, I took some of the learnings as well. I start with the income statement. I try to read into what they're doing online, what's happening, what are their executives saying, right? And it's actually quite interesting. In the income statements, you do get a lot of information as to how they're performing, but then also there will be a note as to, hey, I want to go and put more things on AI because it's the future. So you start picking up some informations. And that's information that you can use that I've been using with some of my contacts to drill down on what those objectives are, what those tactical objectives are, because you can get very high, you can stay very high, and you don't want to be there. You got to get down to, well, actually, how does this partnership reach that objective or part of that objective, right?
Right.
And with that, you can then set the right expectations, set the right cadence, and kind of everything, I think, start aligning, right?
Yeah, super good strategy to, especially if your partner is a public company, to really dig into, what public information they have and use that as a launch pad into those kinds of priority conversations. What are you really working on, and where could I maybe map into that? Where could I really help you? Just a side note on that. I have always found that one of the things in the 10K or annual report to look at that can offer some really interesting clues are the risks that they call out. So after they give their guidance, then they have all these risks that say these are the things that could go wrong that might prevent us from achieving, whatever guidance we're giving to the street. And buried in those risks is almost always some of their key priorities that say, hey, this is something we're going to do, but if it fails, then we won't be able to achieve our objectives. And so they don't necessarily put that priority in the overall 10K, but it's buried in those risks because they want to have that fallback position to say, well, we warned you that if this initiative didn't work, right? And so
Sure.
there's kind of a sneaky way to get at some of that if you look at some of those risk factors. I mean, there's a bunch of them that are the same for everybody. The market is unpredictable, the economy is unpredictable, our competitors might buy, other competitors. There's all that stuff. But buried in there's usually a few pretty interesting priorities. So.
And it reminds me of the investor relations as well. All that information that at least the public companies will give. There's usually a lot of positives, right, as to where we're going in the next few years, how we're going to meet these objectives for you guys. So, lots of good assets there. But that's good.
Well, tell me a little bit more about how, once you've done some of that research and then you've kind of used that as a launch pad into discussions with your partner. Talk to me a little bit about the kind of the mechanics of how you map what you want to get done with what you learn in those discussions about what they want to get done. Like, what does that look like? And let me tell you what I'm getting at, Edmundo. I think a lot of people who listen to this episode are going to say, I get that theoretically, but I don't know what that conversation looks like. And so, give us a little bit of insight into some of the kind of pragmatic stuff you do to have those conversations.
Well, in my case, I'm a very visual person, so I like to. Again, there's a term here, death by PowerPoint, but I like to put things in slides. I like to show it, and I like to have this kind of working session with the partners, right? So at least getting down to a format that says, hey, this is what we're trying to achieve, right?
Yep.
Here are the KPIs, and here are the partnerships that are going to help us achieve those KPIs, or so versa, there could be specific to each of them. Well, then let's sit down and let's start actually nailing down, well, how much can we achieve in X amount of time, right?
Yeah.
And usually what's important is getting, I think, the right people within that conversation. I usually try to use the translators on the other side, which will be our counterparts, right? To kind of start getting the information. And then just once we have something a little bit more cohesive, then we can take it up to other senior leaders to then, hey, validate. This is what we believe we can achieve. What do you think? Are we missing something? And it just kind of starts evolving into something that we can then track, right? And I think the message I always try to bring to them is the importance of being clear as well on what we want to get, and the cadence on how we measure these things, right? So getting them involved, bringing other stakeholders in that table from our side that they want to go and connect. Using that as a carrot to then get them to see the value of putting something in a table that we can review together, instead of just leaving it there to dust, right?
Edmundo, there's about 1,000 things in what you just said that are so critical. I love that approach. The first thing that jumped out at me was coming to the table with something that the partner can react to, right? Putting it in a PowerPoint. Like, here's some ideas, here's some initiatives, or here's some KPIs we could use, or here's some goals we could set, but not giving that to them as I've already decided, but rather, hey, look, here's something I was thinking about. How does that resonate, right? And letting the partner then help you. The other thing that really jumped out at me that you said was about not setting the goal, not assigning a quota, right? But instead saying, hey, look, if we do this, what might we be able to accomplish? How much might we be able to do? Like, can we kind of, brainstorm how much that would look like? Love that. So important in partnership, right? That is what a partnership is about. It's about that negotiation, that kind of back and forth. And then the last thing that you said that just I absolutely love was right people. And you said it over a couple of different ways about, starting with your translator, your counterpart, and then getting the right people on their side involved, getting something in place that then you run up the flagpole to the executives. And again, it's still not baked. It's not cast in stone. It's still hey, here's what we think. Are you guys on board or not? Like, geez, Edmundo, you're like living partnership. I love it. I love hearing the way you're doing it, because that is exactly right. So I love hearing that.
Appreciate it.
Super. All right. Well, listen, we're trying to keep these episodes nice and short. I think I could end up talking to you about this for probably another 30 minutes, but for now, we're going to call it to a close. I really appreciate you sharing some of those best practices with the community. Look forward to it. And I know I said this last time and we did it, but I may ask you back for another episode because I love listening to what you're doing. So maybe if you're interested, we may have you back again.
Hey, love the conversation. This is great. So appreciate it, John.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Edmundo.
Have a good day.
Thank you for joining us on the partnership path in real life today. Remember, the real world tests theories and creates leaders. Don't stop here. Subscribe, learn, and grow with us. Let's make every experience count. Until our next real life story.